Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishnan Nair, and here basically we are discussing about the 198 number format, sorry, formula. And here basically we are talking about the some different topic basically. That is basically the 25 lakh crore. Basically, there is the money invested by the so by the businessman, and there were three businessmen. Basically, they invested the money. So how basically the city creation happens, and how basically to create one city only the 24 lakh crore has been invested. This basically how basically it's done basically that we are basically discussing. So before this basically we have discussed lots of things basically that about the nuclear power plant, the power plants, each and everything basically we have discussed. So in this basically we are going to discuss one more most dangerous topic, that is basically connected with the money, totally money basically, totally basically money you can say. uh, and basically the person basically who have a good knowledge, nuclear knowledge basically you can say, nuclear knowledge and languages level knowledge. So now basically the topic is for example, assume that there are around 59 languages in this world. Assume that there are 59 languages in this world, right? So now one person told that how basically the cities, how the countries are basically created. So one person told that country basically are equal to um, language basically. Then basically he was not able to clear actually what actually he was telling. So he told that India country equal to UAE country, Italy country equal to China country, USA country equal to UK country. Then basically what actually he is telling basically that basically we are not able to recognize. So this was basically told by the one of the Bollywood person. So the software industry basically person basically he was also one of the big person basically. He told that basically I'm not able to get you what actually you want to say. He told that what actually I was supposed to tell is each and every country basically are created on the base of certain energies. That is 100% sure. Yeah, then basically he told yeah it's 100% sure. If I say that one country is created on the base of this language energy, then it would be correct or wrong? The Bollywood person told that it would be 100% correct. It is 100% correct. It is 100% correct. For example, India country is created by France languages, French language. So the energy is used was French language. Why that was used? That basically we are going to see later on. Assume that Germany basically country created on the base of Sanskrit language. It's created on the base of Sanskrit language. Like this whole world basically got created. Around 215 country basically got created. 250 countries basically got created. So this basically was what actually? This was actually the chain of the process. Previously we have discussed one thing basically, that was basically the language base. For example, Sanskrit language basically one word was introduced there, basically the language is Sanskrit language energy basically is getting the process, and it's getting merged with each and every words basically of the Sanskrit within the environment only. So that basically if any word basically is settled in the environment, new word is settled in the environment, then basically it has to be merged with all the language, sorry, all the words basically. That is basically the for example, one I will take one example. One baby basically gets birth in the one family, so he basically gets introduced with the each and every family, right? There might be some reason, right? There might be some reason that each and every family member basically gets introduced. Reason is basically the family chain gets generated in his body that time only, basically when he was childhood. When he was childhood, that time basically his body chain was already generated. The family chain basically was already generated. So like this same way basically the each and every words basically in Sanskrit, sorry, in the new word is in Sanskrit, that new word basically has to merge with each and every words, has to process with each and every words. So that's basically the rules of the environment also, you can say. Reason might be there basically. Reason might be there. There might be reason basically. Reason is basically it might be possible that the person basically who is speaking one word and another word basically, for example, one new Sanskrit word basically is spoken, and the next word will be which word basically you can't say, right? The person is going to speak Sanskrit, he's spoken basically new word. After that, basically which word he's going to speak, that basically it's not fixed, right? It might possible that it's very dangerous actually. It's very dangerous because sometimes basically what happens if one person is basically speaking, that time basically he gets heart attacks. He basically gets chakkar basically. He basically gets falls down. He basically gets falls down. So these basically are the reasons. So basically, I will take one example. Assume that there was one new word in Sanskrit, and that basically merged with 3,000 words. But there were basically 3,500 words. The 500 word basically was not able to communicate with this new word. So basically, this was actually experiment done by the one of the Bollywood director and producer. They want to do some experiment. So just see basically up to what level world basically has done the experiment also. And this all basically experiment are already done. So like this the Bollywood person told that 3,000 word basically we have already connected with the new word, but the 500 word basically was not able to connect. So just see basically it's not basically the government problem, it's not the Bollywood's problem, it's basically some different problem, right? So he communicated with the 3,000, but 500 word basically was not able to communicate. So whenever that 500 word basically was spoken with this new word, that time basically the energy was which was getting, that was getting as a disease energy. That was getting as a disease energy. And slowly basically that disease got spreaded. That basically was not tracked by the environment. That was not tracked by the environment because the tracking system was not there. So like this basically that word basically first basically the it was Sanskrit word, then basically everybody knows it, the same entire word get processed and it gets transferred to the Hindi word, then basically to English. Like this basically whole world basically there are 59 languages, and then get processed to, and the process get completes, and then basically the energy company basically takes the data and nuclear power company do the process. And basically there might be many processes also here. So here basically we are what discussing, here we are discussing that assume that the 500 word basically which was not connected with this new word, that basically created a problem and that got generated to disease, and that basically converted to some big disease like corona basically came into the world. That might be reason basically it might have not tracked in this world. That word was basically not tracked, sorry, that disease basically was not tracked. Why? Because the new word basically which was introduced, that was not connected with this 500 words. And mostly the corona came into the world, it one of the reason might be this only, the new word got introduced in the market by the any of the languages person. So basically the languages might be number one language only basically can do this. Assume that it was Sanskrit language. So basically it's not, I'm not telling that exactly this way only the corona has came. So this might be the reason, one of the reason. But that basically the tracking team basically is going to track this, right? Tracking team basically is going to track one day, right? They are going to track one day that basically why the corona came. The new word basically got introduced in the market. That person basically spreaded that new word, and then basically it might be any word basically, right? That Sanskrit word might be any word, and his blood basically has generated that word also. He might be some any person basically. You can't basically say who is that person. So basically he was not able to merge with that 500 words. The environment basically was not able to merge with the 500 words. Reason, the power company was not able to merge with the, was not able to set that word. The nuclear company basically was not able to set that word. So like this the word was not able to set, and then basically it got processed, and 500 word basically was not able to process, and then like this basically the new word was basically most of spoken by the many peoples, and they basically generated the words. That disease basically got generated from each and every body parts, each and every blood group basically spoken that word, and then basically the disease converted into big disease, and that was basically not tracked. As per the basically the people basically got started falling ill, and they basically the diagnosed group basically was not able to track that disease. So then basically um, it was told that it's a new disease. So like this also basically corona comes into the picture. Corona came might into the picture. So basically there are many reasons. Basically you can't say that it's a one reason, but this reason also might be. But mostly this might be the reason. But basically nobody. But Sanskrit group basically don't want to finish the world, right? Sanskrit group don't want to finish the world. So basically they will never do that, right? Because Sanskrit word basically are spoken by most of by the Brahmins. So do you think Brahman group basically is going to finish the world? No, basically why they will finish the world? Why they will finish the world? Brahmins are basically who? So they are not going to finish the world, right? They are not going to finish the world. But this might get possible basically. But this will basically may never happen because Brahman groups are also basically tracked by many satellites groups. But might possible that sometime basically some Brahman group might have missed. But this basically never happens because the temples basically are tracked. Each and every temples are of the world basically are tracked. So that type of thing basically never happens. It might possible that other caste basically groups, but some word if any introduced in market then basically have to merge with each and every words. That is the rule basically. But that happens automatically. That happens automatically. So this also basically might be one of the reasons where basically the corona came into the picture. So here basically what actually we are discussing. Here actually what we are discussing. Country equal to language, right? Country equal to language, and language equal to country. So country basically was created on the base of language energy. So here basically we have taken one example of India country, which was created by French language. So French language energy basically created the India country. French language energy basically created the India country. And Sanskrit word is basically the root of the most of languages that basically everybody knows. And there are basically few symbolic language also that basically created the Sanskrit language also. That is also there. So, and so the each and every symbolic are basically the universe symbol. Basically, you can say the same basically symbol exists in universe. For example, plus sign. Plus sign is there in universe, right? And that basically lots of planets are also there. Minus sign. That type of also basically universe basically exists in world. Sorry, in universe. So like this basically this is about the language, right? So here basically what is the thing basically which we want to discuss. Here basically first we had discussed that each and every word basically is created on the base of one language. And that basically whole world basically got and assume that few language basically got repeated. few language got repeated because there are 200 and more than 15 countries, and basically language only we have that is 15, and we only have 15 and language, so we have to repeat the language. So for that basically the construction industry basically that are the chemical industry, and the chemical industries basically are created by the nuclear power plants and the energy groups. They basically created the world on the base of the languages, on the base of languages, and the language basically was 59. And here basically each country basically was created on the base of language. Now basically what happens, now the thing is, the India country basically is getting used to do the manufacture, is going to do the production. India country energy basically is going to produce vegetables and oils. That basically is the task given to the India country, right? This is clear. India country got vegetables and oil creation in the market. So like this basically they created the thing on the base of French language, on the base of French language. Like this UAE basically was generating uh, apples, only apple, assume that only apple basically they are generating on the base of Sanskrit language. Just see basically what actually the thing is, on the base of Sanskrit language, right? On the base of Sanskrit language, the apple is created. Now basically what happens? The apple basically was eaten by most of, by assume that around by 200 crore people, basically around 300 crore, assume 300 crore people basically eaten the apple. So just see basically each and every human needs, basically lots of people says that human needs creation is basically business, and that business lots of incomes are there, but see the risk factor also. So 300 crore people basically eaten the apple. Now basically what happened? Suddenly basically the Sanskrit group, basically the Sanskrit masters, they introduced new word in the market. How they introduced that? Basically there might be some system. They are basically might be some creation basically, and basically new Sanskrit. Assume that new Sanskrit word got created, and like this new Sanskrit word introduced in the market, and they introduced the word in the environment. First, the environment basically got the words before spoken by the particular person. Now, basically, the word was introduced in the market, and then basically the environment basically start capturing that word. And here, basically, 500 word basically was not able to capture that new word. Basically, they were no 500 words basically was not able to merge with this new word due to some reason. Basically, there might be some reason, because the word basically the word energy which was created by the power company and nuclear power company, they might have missed some conditions, attraction condition or some energy condition or some of the object basically was missed. There might be some reason basically, due to that basically the energy basically was not, or basically it might be some reason that satellite basically was not able to track that 500 words due to some basically magnetic effect basically was less that time, basically when that 500 word was basically capturing that new word. So just see basically how dangerous is. Magnetic means sun, basically sun and moon basically spreads the magnetic energies, right? And basically everybody knows that there is no like sun and moon. So just see each and everything basically how it's connecting and going to connect and going to connect. So like this basically the new word basically was introduced, and that was not merged with the 500 words. So like this the disease got start spreading, and whenever the people basically was the 300 crore people basically eaten the apple, they got disease, they got disease, they got disease. Why? Because they have eaten the apple of the Sanskrit language basically. Reason the UAE basically was created by Sanskrit language. And the new Sanskrit word basically got introduced in the market, and that was not merged with this new word. Basically, 500 words basically was not merged, and that 500 word basically created a problem to the entire Sanskrit words and across the world also. Basically. Why? Because the UAE basically started a problem. The 300 crore basically people has eaten the apple created by UAE. Just taking as an example, basically, it can be any country. It can be any country basically. So like this, the problem started, right? UAE basically never producing anything. They basically takes everything from outside only. But here basically just taking as an example, UAE basically don't produce anything. They only takes from outside the country. So basically nobody can blame UAE that basically you are producing. But nowadays basically it's the energy, right? And whole world energy basically might be connected with the UAE. It might be also possible, right? That somebody might be doing some testing in with the help of the UAE energy. That whole world energy is collecting, getting here, and what is actually it's generating. That also basically then the whole world is generating which type of energy. That also might be possible that somebody might be doing, and by producing the oils, with the help of the UAE energy. It might be possible. Basically, I'm not 100% sure, but there might be some reason, right? So here that assume that the 300 crore people basically has eaten, and they basically all got into one disease, and there was no medicine also basically introduced of that disease. Like this, basically lots of things happen. Like this corona disease, basically like disease basically got fallen, came into the market, right? So here basically what is the thing basically? Here the thing is each and every basically country basically are created on the base of languages. On the base of language. So here basically what was the thing? Whenever the new country, sorry, new city is going to introduce, that city also has to merge with the country. And that basically is going to generate with the existing products basically which was introduced in the already created in the market, because that things are basically 100% going to create problem, right? That things are 100% going to create, but this whole thing basically, if normal person basically can think, then basically it's a nuclear power groups basically. They might have thought long before, right? The language basically which I am talking about, which I am basically talking about, the each and every country basically created on the base of languages. 59 languages are there, and on the base of country energy basically the foods are basically getting created, and the human needs are getting created. Like this human needs are getting created, and they are basically consumed by the thing, human also basically. So this is basically one thing, right? This is one thing. Now basically the thing is how basically the subscription plan groups are basically connecting with the world. First basically we have saw basically the nuclear power company groups. Then basically we saw that it's energy power company group is there. Energy power company groups are there. Then basically we saw that nuclear power companies are also there. Then just now basically we saw that each and every country are is equal to language, means created on the base of language energy, on the base of language energy. Each and every country basically, and this is the only way basically you can create the thing. And basically text box equal to thousand city also, that is also basically one of the thing, because in text box basically you can write any type of language, right? English, Hindi, Marathi, French, UAE, matlab Arabic, German language, Italian language. Basically, you can speak any of the French, Spanish language. You can speak any type of language. Sorry, you can write any type of language, right? Because whole world is basically using the computer. That's why basically the text box is created on the base of thousand cities. It's not basically one or two cities. Thousand cities are there, right? So one country equal to one language. That is also there. So just see basically how the chaining is going to generate. how the chain process basically has already connected. Basically this all thing is basically are already done, right? It's not like that the thing is basically not done. The things are basically already done. So like this the language basically through. Now basically here the main thing is before the we discuss with the subscription plan, assume that the country basically we have one, assume that India country data is processed in the environment, and then basically they pass the data to the UAE country, UAE pass the data to the German country, then German pass their data to the, like this the whole world basically is getting processed. So 59 languages basically are getting processed, and they are generating the human needs. Because here basically thing is first they check the each and every human needs and in the environment basically is anything getting problem or not. So just see basically if any human needs are getting created, then up to what level the verification checks are basically done. If any new products basically gets into the new human needs are getting into the market, before that the checking basically up to what level they are doing. Because once it gets into the blood cells, then basically it's very difficult to get out from the blood cells. That thing basically is not going to get out from the blood cells. So 59 country basically keeps on processing. Each and every human needs basically. For example, UA is creating Apple Energy, India is creating, assume that oil and petrol energy. So like this, oil and petrol energy and Apple Energy gets merged. They keeps on basically doing process. Then basically the another country, basically the German country goes the this India energy and UA energy gets to the German energy. German says that we are basically our energy is basically producing the vegetable energy. So the vegetable energy gets merged. So like this, each and every whole world basically is doing the process because the whole world has basically jumped into the human needs creation because natural item basically has already finished. Now basically natural item you can't get. So that's why basically this was the option, and this basically is already done also. Those like this the whole world, whatever the basically the 215 country basically is doing the production, they are basically getting merged with each other. Like this they are doing the certain level of process. So assume that they are doing the process around 16 to 17 times across the world. So it's a very fast process. Basically, you can't say that basically the process is basically going wrong or going slow. So whole world basically gets processed with the data. So this is one thing basically. Now after this all thing basically, now basically the point came it of the World Bank basically. So how basically World Bank is telling that we are basically passing the data. We are passing the data. So on the base of what the World Bank might be passing the data, there might be some reason, right? There might be some reason. This all basically the normal basically country group basically might not track it, not able to track. This only basically nuclear groups basically only can able to track, right? This normal basically country can able to track. No, basically it's not possible to track only because they should have the tracking device. If you are creating anything basically in the country basically, that basically immediately that satellite tracks, and that report basically gets to the country basically department. Country department basically gets tracked. Any equipment basically is created in this world, and news channel are always there basically everywhere. Basically, news channel are always there. That is also there. So like this basically the subscription plan group sends the data on the base of what? Because the on the base of world, sorry, on the base of the languages, the world is created. On the base of languages, the world is created. Like this basically the text box is also there. Like this the apple creation is also there. Like this the vegetable creation is also there. Oil creations are also there. Each and every basically creation has done on the base of certain algorithm only basically, right? On the base of certain algorithm. So here basically which algorithm basically subscription plan World Bank basically sends to the India. Assume that they basically have created 3 to 4 lakh algorithm. That is basically the subscription plan data which they sends to the nuclear power company. That is basically one power company only in this world. So in country basically they sends there only basically, right? And from there basically the data are sent to the across the country. That is basically the city states. So what data basically they might be passing? That is the thing, right? What data they the 3 lakh basically 3 to 4 lakh subscription plan data has created. So what data they are passing? If they are passing the data, then basically the source basically 100% they might be knowing that on the base of languages, energy, the data are the on the base of the language, energy, the countries are basically created, right? So this is basically the base. On the base of this only the subscription plan groups are going to send the data, right? Sends the data. So like this basically there are lots of system basically which has basically created on the base of certain errors. System creates why? Because there are basically some error got founded in the system, existing system only. On the base of existing system only, there are lots of error basically has founded, and basically nobody is god that they can create the 100% system. It's not possible also because data are basically keeps on processing and keeps on processing. If basically artificial intelligence software basically is there, then basically you can track. But they basically they also how they can track because they also have basically certain level of data only, right? Certain level of data only basically they have. On the base of that only the artificial intelligence software are also basically doing the process. Lots of people says that nowadays that it's a artificial intelligence world, but they are also basically processing on the base of certain data only, right? They have some data and that is basically created on the base of data science project. On the base of data science project basically the artificial intelligence projects are basically created, but there also basically it's a data only, right? It's a data only. It's a data world basically. For example, one person told that this basically Apple basically is how basically it's tasting so good. Then the artificial intelligence and data science project basically groups people were sending sitting there. They told that basically it's created from the on the base of the UAE energy. And then basically he told the oh it's very dangerous project basically we have created. Then basically on the base of UAE country basically UAE country, and UAE country was created on the base of Sanskrit language. On the base of Sanskrit language, the UAE was created, and UAE basically created the Apple. So like this basically the creation has happened. Lots of things basically has happened, and lots of creation has happened. Lots of things basically has created. Lots of things are basically created. So like this basically the on the base of the languages, assume that basically the World Bank is passing the data on the base of this languages data, and they are passing the data to the nuclear power plants, and the nuclear power plant basically are getting the data, and they are basically spreading the data to each and every power companies nuclear power plants. So like this they are spreading the data, like this they are spreading the data, right? And the base of the data is base of the entire creation of the human, basically which type of data they might be passing, right? For example, they might be passing the Apple oxygen data. The UA basically created Apple, and 300 crore people basically has eaten the apple. So basically, except up to that level, basically you can't have the data, right? Where the people basically are there who basically eaten the 300 crore apple. So to that basically the level the data also might be having with the data science and the artificial intelligence projects. So subscription plan, basically the root is basically these languages, and then basically on the base of the human needs basically which are created in this world, on the base of that basically the subscription plan groups basically that are the World Bank, they are passing the data. On the base of this only they are passing the data. So here basically what data basically they are getting, that basically by default the the governments are basically giving, they are telling that this tree we don't want, this tree we want. Up to that level basically the World Bank has reached. And here basically the software industry plays main role, that this tree means which tree, this tree means which tree basically we don't want. They told that this generation we don't want, and that was basically entered in the data science and artificial intelligence project also, that this generation we don't want, government do. And that data basically passed by the subscription plan group also, that okay basically you don't want this generation, then basically we are passing the data that you don't want this generation. So like this basically the subscription plan groups basically sends the data to each and every country, and this is basically 198 part. In 199 basically we are going to discuss a little bit more about the subscription plan industry.